All right, whenever I'm given a problem that has a table or a graph, I always zero in and I look at that first to try to get an idea of what's going on, and then I get into the details of the problem. So here we're given a table, and I actually modified it so it would work on the Google form. On the state test, it was just a table with some open boxes like this, and you just entered your answers right there in the box. So this table is showing us the number of forms completed, and then the daily pay. So like that first row is saying that if they complete 0 forms, what is their daily pay? If they complete 11 forms, what is their daily pay? And the last row saying how many forms do they have to complete to make $183. Okay. So let's read the problem. It says Erica works from home doing data processing. The company gives her forms that customers have completed on paper, and she enters the information in on a website. So she gets a stack of forms and she just types them in. It says the function f of n is used to calculate her daily pay in dollars on a day when she enters information from n forms. And then they give us this function here. So the key with these sort of problems, or any sort of equation, word problem, where there's variables, we want to look at the explanation to find out what those variables mean. So here it says f of n is used to calculate her daily pay. So here, f of n is the daily pay. That's what this column is calculating. This is our daily pay. And then what does it say n is? N is the number of forms. So the number of forms completed is n. So if it were me, I would label that. I would rewrite that. So when I read this function, I would read the daily pay equals 6 times the number of forms plus $87. Now this problem hopefully becomes a lot easier. So let's go through one row at a time. So this first row here is saying that when n is 0, what is f of n? So they just want us to substitute in 0 for n. So I took that function and I rewrote it, but instead of n, I put 0. Now I'm going to solve it. I want to know what f of n equals, when n is 0. So f of n equals 6 times 0, which is 0, plus 87. So 0 plus 87 is 87. So that's what I would put in this first box. Now let's move on to the next row. This one is saying, what is f of n when n equals 11? So again, we're just going to go back to our function. We want to know what f of n is when instead of n, we're multiplying by 11. So we need to put this in our calculator. What is 6 times 11? 66. And what is 66 plus 87? And that's 153. So when she fills out, or she processes 11 forms, she gets $153. Now the last one, we want to know what n is when f of n is 183. So we're going to substitute 183 in for f of n, and then solve for n. So first, we're going to subtract 87 from both sides, and then we're going to divide by 6. And when we do that, we get n equals 16. So that means that when she completes 16 forms, when n is 16, f of n is 183.